I'm just going to share my screen and get going because I actually have a lot to cover. And so the folks who can join earlier can watch the video, and so they'll be able to go from there. So let me go ahead and share my screen. I do have a really sore throat, so I may be coughing in the middle. Try to mute it. But yeah, let's get going. All right. So today, what I'm going to do is cover again quite a bit fundamentals of private money lenders themselves. This was covered in my one of my workshop that I did recently. It's called Private Money Psychology, and I think this is very, very important because if you don't know this or understand this, uh, you're gonna make a lot of mistakes, and I hate for you guys to be making these mistakes, and I don't want any of my students to be having this problem. So in that conversation I covered this. Again, it was called PML psychology. So you're going to see the same information, but I've updated this and I'm going to go into more details. So the reason why I'm doing this is to be absolutely sure that you are absolutely sure which type of private money lenders we are trying targeting and which we don't want to target, so we don't waste our time. All right, and some of you are familiar with this, but I want to deep dive into this. So for our purposes, residential real estate, I'm not talking about commercial real estate. So that's why this is limited to traditional lenders, which is banks and all that. Hard money lenders, private money lenders, I call them sophisticated private money lenders, and private money lenders who are emerging private money lenders. So, number one, traditional lenders, you all know banks, mortgage lenders, credit unions, portfolio lenders. I don't want to waste time talking about these because for our specific slow flip model, this is already a challenge because they have their requirements. In most banks, they have a certain line that you can uh, access after 10 loans. You cannot get more loans from them. Plus, our biggest problem is most of the slow flip homes probably will not get funded because they won't pass inspection and all that kind of stuff, right? So I won't waste your time on this because what's going to happen is at a certain point you'll come across a lender and you'll say, well, I've heard that they do this. Well, I've heard that they do this. Trust me, do not waste your time on it. There might be here exception here and there. I haven't seen any. If you do find someone, bring it in the group. Let's talk about it. But generally, I just want you to stay away from traditional lenders at this point for our purposes. So next, this is very important, and this is very interesting. I'm going to share some of the screenshots as well, so you can understand hard money lenders. So, what is a hard money lender? A hard money lender provides short term asset based loans focusing on property value rather than the borrower's credit worthiness, right? So, they're interested in number one, they're collateral centric, which means they're looking at loan to value ratios. Again, short term structure, 6 to 12 months. They are known for speed, which means they will loan funds in days or weeks. Advantages, fast approval, funding can be dispersed within days. They may be flexible a bit on terms. They can customize your payment, interest rates, and all that. However, their disadvantages are that many find lenders, it's not their own money. Some of them are, all of them are professionals. So they what they do is they arbitrage, they find other private money lenders, and then they get it at a certain interest rate. They charge you a different interest rate, and that's what they arbitrage. That's their business model. Generally, they are very expensive, 8 to 18% plus origination fee, 1 to 3%. And short repayment plan loans have to be repaid within 6 to 12 months. I am going fast on purpose because I have to cover quite a bit. But like I said, you'll have a recording of this so you can pause. This, like I said, is exactly from my PML psychology workshop that I did, which is full in the school as well. But this one, I've tweaked it a little bit because I want to talk about a couple of things. Here is the problem. Private money lenders and hard money lender terms are interchangeable in some areas. And I just want you to understand that you will find people who will swear to you that they're private money lenders. And in their mind, they are private money lenders because they're saying it's my money. And so I'm a private money lender. So if you actually search, you literally put in private money lenders and search, not hard money lenders, put private money lender and Google search it, you'll come across these websites. It's literally called privatelenders.com, I believe. And so it's right on top, it says private money. But if you look at the models that they're talking about primarily, they're the traditional models, fix and flips and landlords. And if you look at how they operate, they're exactly like hard money lenders. If you go to this website, Lender Link, they've got hundreds of lenders. Every single one of them are hard money lenders, right? Okay, here's what I want you to understand. So I have this screenshot for you. Literally, this is from one of the hard money lenders, but this is what they say. What is private money lending? Private lending in real estate, also known as hard money loan, is a type of alternative financing. So what I'm trying to explain to you is hard money lenders believe they are private money lenders. So in your mind, you have to understand there is a little disconnect or you may call it disconnect or you may call it the verbiage that we are using. We are looking for private money lender, but we are not looking for this kind of a private money lender. What kind? This kind is a professional lender. They do this as a profession. All right. So they know what they're doing. So we don't want to work with these kind of people. So um, like I said, this term is interchangeable. They'll say that I'm a private money lender, and once you start looking at their details, you'll figure out that they're not the private money lender you're looking for. All right. What my experience is that some PML, sophisticated PML, which we'll talk about in a moment, which we are trying to target, may indulge in various type of investment opportunities, and some PML sophisticated will, in addition to hard money lending, will be open to the slow flip model. So I'll talk about that in detail. I'm trying to show you that while many of the hard money lenders are really in a box, they will not go out of their box. But I'm trying to show you is that some PMLs, who I call sophisticated PMLs, they do some of both. And that's the beauty of it. And that's what you got to really understand. So, to convince the type of PML that I'm talking about who does indulge in both, you have to focus on the risk factor and show that the slow flip model is a lot less riskier than the fix and flip model. Does that make sense? All right. So, private money lender. Now, this is one of the private money lenders that are very, very we should be our targeting. All right. So the advantages of a sophisticated private money lender. I think I missed, let's see. Did I go here? Okay, here we go. Yeah, so sophisticated private money lender. Let me go back here. Yeah. Yeah. So a sophisticated private money lender is someone who has done some hard money lending, like I said before, but I call them sophisticated because they understand the terms. They've done this before, they have experience. The only difference is between, I call them the difference between a hard money lender purely and a private money lender sophisticated is that these type of lenders are not professionally doing this. Again, let me repeat that. The main difference is these are not professional money lenders. Okay. So that's what I'm. So these are one of the private money lenders that you do want to follow. There are some challenges. So the advantages are they primarily use their own funds, that we know that. They can be flexible on their loan terms and structure based on the project viability. So in my experience, PML, again, sophisticated PML, are most challenging to convert for the slow flip model. But if you do convert a this kind of a PML, they will end up being your best PMLs. So one of my PML, he's an investment banker and he is a sophisticated PML. He's done hard money lending, he's done commercial, he's done everything. But once he understood and once he was on board, he's like, no questions and nothing. He just understands and he just wants to do more and more. So just be prepared. You have to be very well prepared. When you do your pitch deck, you have to be careful and know that these people are very sophisticated. So just be prepared. That's my advice on that. All right. Disadvantages. So since these PMLs are experienced, they're used to taking higher risks, they do like to charge higher interest rate. So that would be one question that'll come up. And if you do a pitch deck, they might have a little pushback on that. And they're used to short payment terms. Again, since they've done hard money loans also, they may not like tying up their funds. And that's why the retirement angle is really important. Do you see that? So if you have a sophisticated private money lender who has a retirement account, now that the longer term may work for them. So, my warning to you is never argue with them if they feel, because remember, these are experienced PMLs. So, if they give you pushback on the 5 year term and find out flaws with the slow flip model, I would not argue with them because they do have a lot of experience and they may have some. So, I would just, not argue. And if they are comparing slow flip model returns with a fix and flip without understanding the risk factor and consequences, they will probably never understand and invest with you. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, what you're really trying to explain to them is, which I believe is a very fair conversation, right? Yes, if you want to say, well, I can make a lot more doing a fixed, yes, of course you can, but that risk factor is very different. And so the one I'm talking about, the investment banker, he's done fix and flips. He's been burned. So he immediately understood when I told him that. You do know that, and so he said, yeah, I absolutely know that those are very risky. And he said, I like your system and it works. And when it works, that's what I want to do. All right. So now this is the next section where I talked about how to identify different types of private money lender on the emerging side. So this is another term I'm using. Instead of calling this private money lender unsophisticated, so this is somebody who's new or somebody who is, let's say, never done private money lending. So the term I use is private money lender emerging. All right. So this is typically an individual. This is what usually Scott is talking about in his program. You're talking about somebody who's either never done this before, has done some other investing, but may have never done private money lending. So an individual who is not a professional, not an experienced private money lender, and they have funds sitting in an account, not earning enough, and they're willing to lend to you. So in this case, for them, the most important thing is the operator reliability. Their principal is safe, secure, while their asset is guaranteed with documents. So this is the best type of PML you want to bring on board for yourself, right? So advantages, fast funding, they'll have money, they'll cash available, excellent terms. They'll pretty much go by your terms because they're doing it for the first time. So to ensure that this type of PML understands your model very well before having them invest with you, because there is a little drawback when you are dealing with people who are not sophisticated, is because they're just saying yes, yes to everything. You also want to make sure that they understand the fundamentals, how much they're going to invest, of course, and what their returns are. And so they understand that it's principal and interest. So what I do is, the way I do this, I have a very detailed, you all have access to my pitch deck, level one and level two. If you look, my level two pitch deck has, I think, 3 pages or more of frequently asked questions. I go through them every single time. You also have access to my pitches to private money lenders that I've done. I use the same pitch deck, and if you notice, I literally go through every one of those frequently asked questions, and that really helps them because sometimes, remember, these people are not sophisticated, so they don't even know what to ask. Do you see that? So if you bring those FAQ questions, you're really addressing them upfront for them. Disadvantage. So while they are your ideal PML, the problem is, they don't know much. So you have to educate them, right? So, and that could be challenging because it becomes your job. And then while they expect you to do, while you do want them to do their own due diligence, um, you will need to provide a lot of information to help them make a decision. That's why I will have in one of my, what I do is I have a 26-page property report that I give them. What that is my due diligence on the investment deal that we have under contract, right? So even though they don't have to go by that, but it's so well done. It has property specs, it has tax record, it has sold comms, it has rental comms. Then I do 1 page of my own underwriting on that property, on why that property is a good slow flip. I even do a very brief cash flow analysis. So after all of that, they feel that okay, there's enough information and data there for them to make a decision. All right. So again, make sure you educate them and do enough due diligence for them so that it helps them make a decision. All right, now why some hard money lenders would not do the slow flip model? I'm again going back to this. Only reason is I just want to have you save your time, not waste your time dealing with or approaching private. Maybe this one will do it. Maybe because guess what? They do numbers game. Like, even if you tell them the model at the initial level, they say, oh, yeah, yeah, sure, let's set up a meeting and let's talk about it. Maybe we can. And I can tell you, you're going to waste your time because they're just doing their numbers, which means they have a process. You know, in sales, what happens is they have to talk to 100 people to find the two clients or whatever, right? That's what they're doing. So you're their guinea pig. So I'm just trying to convince you, don't waste your time because they'll talk about property valuation. Even if they do, they're only going to lend between 50 to 80% loan to value. Now, the problem is if you actually get into this game, now you're going to try to figure out how you can actually move your model or mold your model so it works with them, which is the other way around. You're trying to find a PML who will work with your model. Do you see what I'm saying? So that's why just stay away from them. And again, unlike fix and flip, most hard money lenders are looking for an exit strategy. In most cases, in our cases, our exit strategies, I'm going to keep my portfolio for a long period of time. I'm not having a exit event, unless yes, my tenant buyer may sell the property, but that's not what we are really looking for. So for them, they are looking for an exit strategy because for them, they realize, okay, well, this is what the valuation would be. That's not happening here. So at many fronts, if you look, for example, on a typical slow flip, so say $30,000, they won't even lend you more than $21,000, 80% maximum value if they were to, which means you'll need to bring at least 9 grand plus the closing costs plus their fees. So in other words, to fund a $30,000, you'll need to bring up about 13 grand. That doesn't make sense, right? All right, so a whole bunch of other things, minimum loan amounts. A lot of them have. I've dealt with a lot of them who want loan below 60 grand or 100 grand. Most of the large hard money lenders don't won't even do anything less than $100,000, right? Terms also an issue. So again, I'm just starting to tell you that's what will happen with hard money lenders. Now, sophisticated private money lenders, some of them will not do it, and these are the reasons. And that's what I want you to understand is just try to figure out as early as possible that where are you going based on their questions. So if they start talking to you about points, it's actually if you between you and me, if I was to pay one private money lender points just to get them to do a deal, it's not it won't break the deal. But that's not what we are trying to do. Remember, if you want a system, you want the same private money lenders to do several deals with you, right? So if you do that idea of "Oh, maybe I'll just do one deal with them with 1 or 2 points. Well, guess what? If you do it once, they'll expect you to do it again. And that's not going to work for you. So you have to train your private money lenders on the way you do business. You want to tell them, I'm sorry, I don't pay points because, I pay 12% interest and I do all the work. And so, everybody has to win-win. So I'm sorry, I can't pay you points. Right. But if they push back on you, it's not going to work. I wouldn't work with them. So, and then what if they say, well, in my case, I never do more than 6 months. Or, you know what? I'll loan on this, but I want my money back in 1 year. Again, you'll go out of your way, say, okay, you know what? I'll find a way to do that. Sure, you could refinance it after a year. Many people in our group do it. But again, you're changing the way you do business to work with them. It's the other way around. If you want to build a system and you want it sustainable, I would build your own system and stay away from people who are trying to, have you do it the way they want you to work. Uh, And again, they may ask you for more interest rate. Again, this is not something that will break the deal if it was a one-off deal. Maybe you could run a deal with them by saying, look, okay, I want to build a relationship with you. I'll give you 15% or, even 16%. It won't make much of a difference on a $30,000 loan. But then you have to make sure by saying that, look, I'm willing to do that because I want to do more deals with you, right? So I can agree to that as long as we agree that after this, going forward, we all loans will be at 12%. Does that make sense? So that way you are willing to be a little bit flexible and then expecting them to be flexible on future deals. But if they're not willing to do that, then that's the sign that, they're very, very stuck with their own way of having their own way with whoever they work with, and that's not a good sign. All right. All right. So conclusion, identify hard money lenders, avoid them. All right. Identify sophisticated PML. While harder to convert, you must do an exceptionally good job to convert this type of a lender. And they can be one of your best private money lenders, but they're harder to convert. And finally, number three are identify and target emerging PMLs. They are your ideal PMLs, and you just need to educate them. That's what you're trying to do. So again, hard money lender, no. PML sophisticated, yes, possible. PML merging, yes, ideal. Make sense? All right. Now, this one is very important. Teresa, maybe this one would be most helpful for you because you said you're at a very beginner level. So, uh, the reason why is uh, a lot of time you're stuck with, well, what is the actual conversation that I'm having? This will talk about specific question that you need to ask them, right? When you ask them these questions, your whole conversation, your whole pitch will take shape. So that's what I'm going to talk about. All right. So before you explain the slow flip model, so this comes in before you start going into what you do. You have to ask them two main questions. All right. But each of these questions have two parts. So there are actually four questions. Question one, where is your money and how much is it earning? Now remember, you're not just asking randomly first. You had an earlier conversation with them. They have expressed interest and they want to meet with you. So this is your official meeting where you're doing the pitch. All right. So they're expecting you to do that. So some people have asked me, well, I would never ask, or it sounds very well. No, they're here for this reason. So they should expect a question like this: where is your money and how much is it earning? Question two: how much do you have available and can you commit to invest funds for at least 5 years? All right. And I'll explain to you why. So where is your money and how much is it earning? So whether the funds are liquid, this will tell you that, right? What if they say, oh yeah, I've got like $1 million. Oh really? Where is it? Oh, I've got a house that's worth $1 million. It's not liquid. That's not going to happen. So and how much is it earning? If they're earning something, I don't know, earning 30%, well, that's a problem right now. So you need to either ask that and really understand, are they really earning 30%? How are you going to make a argument about 12%? Do you see that? So these are the questions you need to know ahead of time. Your next question is, how much do you have available and can you commit to invest your funds for at least 5 years? How much they have available to invest will tell you if they have at least $30,000, right? And whether the investment horizon matches the slow flip model, which is a 5 year term. All right. So you want to confirm all these? You need check. You need number one, whether the funds are liquid, check. Whether they are earning less than 12%, check. How much do they have available to invest? 30 grand at least, check. Whether their investment horizon matches slow flip model, check. So you have got all four checks. Now you move on to the next model, next question. That's where you are trying to connect. So now find out why your potential private money lender is exploring other investment options, right? So let's say they're in stocks or whatever, and so you need to ask them, well, you're in stock and you've been doing, I don't know, well or bad, whatever. I need to know why you're deciding not to take your money out of stock market. So ask that question. Question two, what are the reasons why they need to earn more? So this is a different question. There are two different questions, okay? This will identify their problems, and now you have to connect the problems with the slow flip model. And this is how you do it. Problem. I was in the stock market and I was losing my principal. I mean, I started with $60,000 and I'm down to like $45,000. So I'm actually losing, principal amount. Forget about the profit. I'm losing principal. So your solution with the slow flip model is your principal is secured. Does that make sense? So you're actually connecting something, showing them how a problem is being solved by what they're looking for. Another problem is, oh, I'm only making 5%. After I pay all the fees and everything, I don't even know if I'm making even that 5%. Oh, here, look, 12%. Every month, passively, you don't have to do anything. So connection. You want to connect it. All right, so that was that. I'm going on to the next section now. Again, like I said, I'm going a little fast because I have a lot to cover. I did talk about this when I brought you guys on board. This is a concept that I created. It's called Avatar Experience Spectrum. So I'm shifting gears. This is about marketing. And what this concept is, very briefly, whenever you speak to a potential private money lender or your avatar, you can't assume they understand your model. When I talk about the model, I'm talking about slow flip model. If you just describe the model, you can't assume that they'll understand it. Why? Number one, maybe you're not explaining the model well enough. Maybe they are not very interested in what you're saying. Maybe you need more time to explain the model, or maybe you need to show them more sample deals. Or maybe their knowledge of real estate is not the same as yours, or even close to your knowledge. Well, think about this for a moment. This is very important because we make these assumptions that something as sophisticated. By the way, slow flip model is quite sophisticated. If you're looking at it from the outside, it is quite sophisticated. So you can't assume when you have a chat with a private money lender, and especially if it's an emerging private money lender, to understand the model. So I've created this model. So the solution is I've devised uh, avatar experience spectrum, which allows, number one, for you to figure out how far off your potential private money lender is in understanding the slow flip model. Then it guides you carefully to educate your private money lender through a spectrum of models to close the gap in real estate investment model. And I'll explain it. It's not very complicated. I'm just trying to describe it. And finally, once you are sure they understand the slow flip model, then present the pitch deck, and that will help you. So this is, I'm going to show you more representation. This is the first one. Um, I just want you to focus on the colors. I just want you to look at the red color, the light orange color, and the blue color. And what it really means is red means somebody who has very little experience. You're talking to somebody with very little experience. The light orange color is with somebody with some experience. And then the blue is an area that is reasonably good experience. So I call that low AVS, medium AVS, and a high AVS. All right. So AES is a visually, it shows the knowledge base of your potential PML. Again, this is for internal use. Do not share it with your potential private money lender. Okay. The numbers progresses from negative with no real estate experience. Literally, it's a negative number to a positive territory to for a more experienced investment. All right. Again, forget about the numbers. Don't worry about the numbers at this point. Again, the colors is what I want you to focus. Red, orange, and blue. So if somebody is in minus 50 and you are at 100, the 100 represents the slow flip model. So you have to understand how much work you have to do in educating them where they are to before you start telling them about the slow flip model. All right. So there is no hard science to this method. It is simply a way to figure out how far off your potential private money lender is understanding your model. So the further they are, the more work is necessary in educating them before you can successfully make the model. Now, this is the full image. This is what you can use. Now you can see um, on the extreme left is somebody who is renting an apartment. It does not even own a home, has never done any real estate. That is literally zero, right? Have absolutely no experience. Now, another, I've found people who live in their own home. They bought a home. Well, in terms of real estate investment, that's still very close to zero experience, right? Let's keep moving. Oh, I have a rental property, or I have two rental properties, I have three rental properties. Great. But they're still in the red territory. I would need to talk to them about, there's something called wholesaling, then talk to them about fix and flip and so on and so forth. So as you are moving, as you can see, once you start in the wholesale fix and flip and short-term rental or even up to BRRRR, you're still in the medium strategies before you bring them on towards slow flip model. So what you're really trying to do, in my experience, and they're not precise, but slow flip model is that, like I said, is quite sophisticated model. So therefore, I've placed the slow flip model at 100% because that's where we are. That's what we are trying to do. Okay. So, and this is how I plotted the various strategies. Now, let's take a couple of examples. So, example one, somebody's done a buy and hold, a traditional rental. So your potential private money lender says that he has done a few buy and holds and he has some experience. Well, great. Unfortunately, in terms of slow flip model, you would need to briefly explain a couple of more progressive models, moving them over the spectrum before you can explain the slow flip model via your pitch deck. Does that make sense? You don't have to go into details. Very briefly, since you've done like in this case, you would talk to them and say, well, you know that you have a tenant and they're paying your rent, but you're responsible for repairs, right? Okay, there's another way of investing where you live in the house and you upgrade the house and then you sell the house later on, right? So it's called house hacking. And then there's something called wholesaling. And again, you're just describing in two sentences, right? So in their mind, you're moving them over the spectrum. You see what I'm saying? It's pretty interesting. You would see the aha moments in their eyes once you actually explain the slow flip model. I actually did this with a investor. It's in my pitch recordings. I'll tell you which one in a moment. Here's another example. Somebody who's done fix and flip. Great. In our score, they're about 50, but we need to bring them over. This is better, but in terms of slow flip model, they would still need a bit more education, specifically about lease options and seller finance. You see that? Because that is quite a bit different. If they've done fix and flip and they've never dealt with yeah, I've heard of those, but I don't know. Yeah, you do need to talk about it so you can bring their mind over. Finally, you have someone who's done lease options and specifically has done seller financing well. They're very close to understanding what they're doing. I would still get as much information and figure out how they structured their seller financing so you're absolutely sure that they can understand once you start talking about it. So I hope, let me go back here. Uh, can I go back? Yeah, here we go. All right, so I hope this was helpful. Like I said, there is a video. In a moment, I'll tell you which that where that video is, where I without a visual like this, I did this verbally with an investor, and he was actually one who was literally at zero. I mean, I don't even know if he had a rental property or not. So I literally brought him from there to slow flip model, and he did understand. So it did work. Okay. Next, and this is the last thing we'll do. So I've yeah run through this really really fast, I guess. Uh, I added a new folder, and actually while I'm doing this, while you're reading this, I'm going to unlock it right now, so you should have access to it right now. This folder will have um, AI aided role play, and this is really fun. So I'm hoping that you guys will do this week, and I'm interested to know how this will work for you. So I'm unlocking it right now. There you go. So it's unlocked now, and there are two models. So what is this? So basically, what I did was I have been researching, when I speak before I even had the coaching program, one of the things most people kept saying is, I just don't know how to talk. I just don't know how that conversation will go. So, in other words, there was this fear that since I don't know what they were going to ask me, I didn't know what to say in response to that. And that is a good argument in that sense that you don't want to be uncomfortable, you want to be prepared, right? Well, how do you prepare for something? You practice, right? You rehearse. The problem is, well, how do you rehearse with, if you rehearse with a friend, well, they're going to be polite with you. They're going to ask you easy questions or they don't know what to ask. Well, now we have AI, right? So I have two AI models that I've used. One is an app, and they're both free. So you can use the free version. And the other one is ChatGPT. If you have a paid version of ChatGPT, you'll probably have even better. So I have two things. When you go there in this section, it's unlocked now. There is a guide, there's a PDF under resources. It'll tell you step by step how to do it. I explain to you how it works. and I gave you a prompt. So you will literally copy that prompt and paste it, and it will actually, this is how it will work. So in the video, I'm using the prompt and it's voice enabled. In other words, I'm talking to ChatGPT and the ChatGPT is talking back to me, right? But believe it or not, the ChatGPT version is very sophisticated. Let me tell you why is it really good. The problem is not um, telling your model to say something. The problem is you don't know what the follow-up question would be, right? So the key here is when you write the prompt, and so even though I give you a prompt, I have, I think, two or three prompts for each of the model. So for Pi, I gave you two or three prompts. For ChatGPT, I give you two or three prompts. So you can use that prompt and then you can tweak it, right? So what I do is in the prompt I say, okay, ChatGPT, I want you to do this, and I describe everything. I say you are a 35-year-old nurse practitioner who has been investing in the stock market for last 20 years, and you're losing money, or blah blah blah, right? And you've been referred to me by Joe, and we are meeting at a coffee shop, and we are having a conversation, and blah blah blah, right? So prepared. But one of the things I've added, listen to this. I want you to ask me 5 questions. This is my instruction to ChatGPT. I want you to ask me 5 questions, and every time I answer, feel free to ask me a follow-up question. Well, guess what? That just rotates everything because you don't know what that's going to ask. Why? First of all, I didn't even tell ChatGPT what to ask me. I just said that I'm going to describe the model, right? And ChatGPT can ask me anything. But then what I respond, which I don't even know what I will say because I'm just doing it on the fly, right? But then ChatGPT can then ask me a question based on what I said, which is very cool. So if you see the video, you'll see that whatever I'm saying is I'm just doing my own pitch. So this is perfect way for you to practice your pitch. And you can do it as many times as you like. I would do the first few ones without recording yourself, then record yourself. And then you will start seeing as you progress, you'll see that you'll get better. Does that make sense? So you all have access to this now. All right. So this week, what we want to do is this one first. You can review the AI aided PML roleplay guide, test the models. If you like, feel free to record yourself. If you think you did really good, record yourself and post it in school. I like to see it. How did it go? Because it'll feel good. I'm telling you, it feels so good because it's the confidence you're looking for. Once you have the confidence, then all you're doing is now just talking to a real person. So review the slides for this session. Write down your questions for the question and answer session on Saturday. Keep reading the book. If you're done with the book, that's even better. Share something that you learned from the book in the school um, community. And that's basically it from this side, which means I went so fast. I wasn't planning on going that fast, but I kind of rushed through this. Uh, but since we have time, I can answer any questions.
I have one,
Hmm.
Amir. It's Mike Shock. Um, so I was actually trying to find this ChatGPT role play. Um, so do you need a paid version or can you do it with free one? Either way is fine. I mean, it's
Free. Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, yeah. I did it with the free version. The thing is, with the paid version, you get a lot of different voices, and some of those voices are incredible. They're so realistic. But I thought, you know what, I would try this free version. The free version is pretty good, but the slow flip version has some women voices, and they were really, really convincing.
Okay.
So you don't need a paid version.
Okay. Thank you.
Hmm. Teresa, what do you think? Still muted.
Yeah. Okay. Um, I I like the slide that you were showing, the red, the yellow, just how to educate because my personality is I want to assume that people know what I know, and that kind of helps me to take a step back and be able to explain those items and kind of educate them so they are where I'm at or
Hmm.
or to get them to the 100%. So
Yeah.
I definitely I like that. So that was good for me.
Cool, cool. So this role play also will help you a lot if you are uncomfortable with, because remember, this whole pitch deck idea builds up from the conversation. If you're already very uncomfortable with the conversation because you're uncomfortable with what you're going to say, then when you are actually doing the pitch deck. By the way, when I say pitch deck, always remember, um, I do not like to make a pitch over the phone.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not do that. You know, one of the reason is when you're on the phone, number one, you don't know what they're doing. They may be distracted, right? That's the one issue. Number two is I do my presentation using the pitch deck. So I would like their attention. And so I'm in control of what we're talking about. So I know what we are all both watching. And so I would set up as early as now a Calendly account. You can have a free one. And so that way you can have appointments, and once you have appointments you have a Zoom account where you do all your presentation. So you've seen my presentation to private money lenders. These are all potential private money lenders, right? But you see
Hmm.
how I've never done it by a phone. It's always a via Zoom call. But
Yeah.
that can't happen if you're uncomfortable talking to them, right? So that getting that uncomfortable thing out of you is with the practicing with the AI.
Yeah, I'll definitely be practicing that. And it's going to be after I get back from Mexico, but I will be doing a lot of
Well, get
practicing.
get this app on your phone while you're in Mexico. You can practice
Okay.
that. This app on the phone, it's
Uh-huh.
a limited version. Here's what I found that version works is let's say you're having a short conversation and you want to practice your elevator pitch, which is that
Hmm.
15-second pitch what you do. Um, Pi is great for that because it's just a very quick conversation and you can practice something. Let's say the first conversation you're having with a potential private money lender is over the phone, but don't use that as your main pitch. Over the phone, get them enough interested so that they can sign up for your Zoom presentation. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So
Yes.
that's how what you can practice with Pi in how to get them interested enough to sign up on Zoom.
Hmm. Okay.
Amir, I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
On school, you have two pitch decks. What's the main difference between the two?
Yeah, very good question. So I found most of my private money lenders come from when I do these large presentations, right, with custodians. So those are 1 hour long. So they sit through the entire presentation. So once they're done, they set up a Zoom appointment with me, right? So I don't need one presentation, pitch deck number one for them because they already gone through my basic information. They already know quite a bit about me. So that's when I use pitch two, level two, because they're ready for that. Now, sometimes people just connect me via email by saying, "Oh, I found out about you, whatever." They don't know anything about me. So the first thing I do is I send them the first level pitch deck, which is really bare bone. I'm going to probably improve on it, and once I do, it's going to be up there. But you can create something like that, which gives them very rough idea of what you're doing without going into specifics. And if they're more interested, that's when you set up your Zoom call, and that's when you do your level two pitch deck. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yep, sure does. And then when you were saying that you're in front of a crowd, a bigger crowd, are you pre-recording that Zoom call and having it play, or are you going
Now,
live every time?
I'll do live.
Okay.
In fact, one of the first time I was when I approached the custodian company, the first one, very first one, they've always done pre-recorded. They never done live. One of the reason was it's safe, and people like to play safe. So I asked them. I said, "Do you? There's a reason why you do pre-recorded?" They said, "No, it's just easy." And I said, "Well, I want to do live if you're open for it." So they were a little concerned because they were like, "Well, some of these guests, they're not comfortable taking live question." I said, "I'm live. I'm okay with taking live questions." So it takes a little courage, but I'm telling you, it's amazing. It's it will give you so much credibility because you're on there. It is your workshop. You end the workshop. Now you answer questions. So in terms of credibility, it goes through the roof. with something like that. All right. And you'll get there. Don't worry. It's just that everything builds up on things. But either way,
Do you have a recording of any of those
yeah, they're all on school.
let's go.
They're
Okay.
already there. So if you see there are many of them unlocked, so this should be under custodian administrator workshops.
Okay.
They're each 1 hour long, so they're quite long.
Okay, perfect.
Steve, hey, I don't know if you can talk. If you can talk, I'd like to know if you had a chance to speak with that private money lender. Maybe he's at work. Jason, how's everything, man?
It's good. I'm drinking from the fire hose right now. But that's okay. I think the educational points of the videos that I posted, there's a lot of good comments, and you made some good comments on there. And now I have like 100 videos to make based upon
That's
those
cool.
the comments. So
So, no, no, that's actually a very interesting comment. So, you and I, we all have done this in school and in college. When you do a presentation, you do the first version, right? So always remember, the first version is just the first version. I would go back and look at it over and over again and then say, if I was a outsider and look at the AES, the Avatar Experience Spectrum, and I could be anyone looking at this, would I understand this, or would I need a slide in there that will clarify this even more? So think of that terms, and then you'll realize you'll have an iteration. You'll have a continuous process of improvement. You'll see. I'm not saying create a new one. All I'm saying is start with one, and then as you see, it'll progress and it'll get better and better and better. Not just the content, even your graphics will become better Be- because graphics are very important in that sense. Does that make sense?
it does, yeah. And having the spectrum now, I'm looking at okay, now the videos. I'll have to travel the spectrum to get them over there when I'm doing it, however long or short that may be, to do that.
Yeah, and again, it's not science, but it is an experience. Remember, it's your understanding and another person's talking to you and their understanding. Just because they just nod their head doesn't mean they're understanding everything. So in this case, it's even more important, right? Because if you end the conversation and they just kept nodding their head and you assume, oh yeah, they were nodding their head, well, guess what? They get out of the meeting by saying, well, I didn't really understand. I was just being polite, right? So it's your job because you really want this to go well. So if it's your job to really know what's happening, are they really understanding this? And one way of doing this is to know exactly what their experience is. And once you know that, then you know, okay, well, they're really far from this. I need to, before I pitch the idea like this to them, they need to really understand some of the other models so they have an idea. Like, any person will understand rental idea. They know that because everybody's rented sometimes in their lives, right? So they understand if they are a renter, they pay their rent, but they're not responsible for repairs, right? So then, you explain that and they say, yeah, yeah, I understand that. And based on that, you're talking about other things and expense and income. That's what they're trying to understand. And in most cases, if you just take two or three sentences, you can explain all of these models. You don't have to go into detail. That's not what the idea is. Just those movements that you want to bring them from where they are to where you want it to be for slow flip model. And then, of course, when you get to the slow flip model, then you talk about the advantages, right? And you, of course, you talk about, the things that makes slow flip special, that you're not responsible for repairs, you're not responsible for maintenance, you're not responsible, you as an investor, especially, it's completely passive. I'm the one doing all the, so that's what you save for your slow flip model when you get there.
Yeah, I could have used that on Saturday night. I had a friend of mine we're sitting there watching the UFC fight at Buffalo Wild Wings, and he's like, "So, tell me about the what you've been posting, and tell me about how we make money, and tell me about all the caveats." And he's only been a home buyer. He's a business owner, but he's a home buyer.
Okay.
So he was on at the zero
Mm-hmm.
mark, during that zero mark. So I had to figure out how am I going to get him over here because he sees the risk factor, right? Risk, 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 risk. Yeah, and getting them back over there. So I think I got him maybe halfway on
Well,
it.
so the first thing I would suggest is do not, I mean, talk to him, but say, hey, what I would like to do is we're talking about a pitch deck. So to say,
Hmm.
I have a small presentation, I like to go over that with you. Number one, what it does is then he also knows and you know that you're actually doing a pitch. It's actually formal pitch. To him, then it looks like that's something that you prepared. If he's not ready for that, don't push him on that, right? But say if you're really interested, I have a actual presentation that goes into details and it's about 20 minutes. I will really do that because remember, the only reason why I even created this program is to have systems. Otherwise, every time you have this conversation, you'll have to start all over again because you don't know what to do, right? Every time last time I was on the couch, we were just talking, so maybe I should be doing the same thing. I should have beer and you know what I'm saying. But if you do a pitch deck, it's the same pitch deck. It's a system. So you
Right.
need to refine the system, not that casual conversation. You'll go crazy because you'll never know what worked. Maybe it was the beer, maybe it was the
Mhm.
barbecue. I don't, nobody would know.
All right.
Jason, I enjoyed your videos too, by the way.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
More to come.
I see you're in Columbia. I got 3 deals down there. I'll private message you later.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Hey, Steve, can you talk now?
I can, yes. Thank you.
Sure,
I'm
sure.
traveling down the road,
Oh,
moving from
okay.
one campground to another. And so, but yeah, I did have a chance to talk to my guy yesterday. It was really brief. I mean, it was a 1 hour call, but we spent 40 minutes talking about his business and all that stuff. And so,
So, so actually, I read that comment, and I think, see, what I just told Jason is very important. When
mhm.
you have a conversation with no agenda, well, guess what? That's exactly what will happen. You'll spend an hour call, 40 minutes or 30 minutes talking about stuff that was not, I mean, both of you are happy with the conversation, but you didn't really get anything out of it, and you're not really sure what happened, right? So, what I would do is get him to accept to be on a presentation, whether it's on Zoom or whether you sit with him with a laptop. It has to be a presentation. And that should be the presentation that you're consistently working on. And that's where you will present the whole idea. You can use my pitch deck, just change stuff that is relevant to you and do that. And then
Yep.
then you'll know exactly where you are. Otherwise, you won't know. So that's my suggestion.
And, and that's exactly where we left it off. I kind of did the level one pitch to him to some extent. And I said, I'm working on putting together my pitch deck. And what I really liked what he said was, yeah, good. Let's get it done. If I like it, I'm going to share. I'll introduce you to some of my friends over here in California.
Perfect.
So
I,
he's a high income guy that is used to has done some investing in the past. And he said, "How much is each investment?" I said, "It's about 30,000 per." He said, "Perfect. This other deal I got that actually went bad. He's just getting his principal back, but his principal's coming back in $30,000 chunks every month."
oh,
So I was,
wonderful.
yeah,
Wonderful.
perfect.
Now
Do a deal a month.
here's another thing I've learned, Steve, is and it has happened to me also, is sometimes the most ideal private money lender lead turns out to be bad because we were so anxious. This word, this anxiousness, believe it or not, shows up in our speech. It shows up in our way we do our presentation. That we are so anxious to get their business that it shows everywhere. You want to avoid that. So even though you told me all of these things, you want to come across, look, Steve, I know you, you have a lot of experience. All right. So when you meet with him, when you do the presentation, you need to be in control of that. You need to make sure that he wants to work with you. It shouldn't be the other way around.
Yeah, good point.
Right? And so that's where the pitch
Absolutely.
deck comes in. That's the pitch deck has
Hmm.
to be so well done that when he goes through that, you give him all the answers, and really towards the end, He really has to say whether he wants to do it or not. And I've told you guys, I don't know if you've seen some of my videos when I do private money lending. Towards the end, I literally ask them two or three questions, and I ask them, if I was to accept you in my program, when would you be able to start?
Mm.
Do you see that question? I
Yeah.
didn't say that, when do you like to start? It means that I'm assuming you're going to join. No, I said, if you were to join my program, which means I'm the one who's going to decide whether you join or not. So I know your relationship with may be different. You just have to figure out what the right framing has to be done, so that and you can give a logic. Here's my logic. I tell them, which is true, my deal flow and my number of private money lender has to match, right? So if I have a lot of deals and too few private money lenders, then my deals cannot, I have to get out of those contracts. That's not good for me. So I have to match my funding with the private money lender funding with the deal flow. So because of that, I control the number of private money lenders I put in my system. This is
Beautiful.
true. I'm not making
It's
this up. This
scary.
is true. But when I
And
say it, it's of course comes across true. And so I
Mhm.
tell them, I'm only looking for two or three more lenders this week or this month or whatever. And
Mhm.
so it's hard. Once you internalize it, it creeps up in your conversation.
Creates that scarcity for sure. One
Yep.
of the
Yep.
things in my old pitch deck when I was raising money a bunch of years ago, I would start out by saying, I'm going to answer your questions. And at the end of this, what I'm looking for is a yes or a no. Because the last thing, and this is the same with any sales pitch, really, the
Mhm.
last thing anybody wants to hear is maybe.
Right.
And so
Exactly.
do you set those expectations
Yes.
in advance? Good.
Yes, I do. Absolutely. That's a good idea. You should watch some of my before you this
Hmm.
presentation, watch my private money lender pitch video recordings. There's a whole bunch. I have
Absolutely.
like at least 8 or 9 in there. The
I
first
saw them, and yep.
Yeah, in the first section, I do say, hey, this is what I plan to do. I'm gonna tell you about the program and everything. And towards the end, if everything feels right, then we'll make a decision whether you can join the program or not. If not, no big problem. Something of that line. So yes, in the beginning, I do say that. I'll ask you. So I don't tell them those questions. So do you see what I say in the beginning is after the presentation, I'll ask you two, three questions, and after that, we'll make a decision. So when I make the presentation, now they know everything they need to know, right? Then I ask them question like this. If I was to accept you in my program, when can you start? So that number one, it tells me whether they have made that decision. In their verbiage, they will already say that, oh yeah, I'm ready to start and I can start right away. Number two, my question is, that's the time I asked them about exact amount. That's when I said, how much money were you planning on investing? That's when they tell me, well, I have about 100,000, 200,000. All right. And then I tell them my
Excellent.
requirements. I'll tell you what my requirements are. I said, okay, if I accept you in the program, I will require two things. I will require a driver's license for identification purposes in my system. Number two, I would require a statement of your self-directed IRA account. Do you see that?
Mm.
So they can't even join my program if I have that information. So I'm the one making the decision whether they can join or not. So that's what I say in my presentation.
Beautiful. Great stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. So my throat is hurting. See. We are at a 1 hour mark now. Let's work on all of these things that we talked about this week. Especially try out the AI model. Let me know what you think. If you have any questions on that, write down your questions. Let's meet on Saturday and then we'll go from there. All right?
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank
See
you.
you guys. Bye.
Thanks, man.
Bye.